weapons grade material. Locate and destroy the mining equipment.
Hey guys, Level Cap here, and what you're looking at right now is the game Warframe. This game is for the PC. It is a third-person co-op shooter-style game, although there
A lot of the
is
time, I've found that some of the best forever games to ever come out were very unassuming. A lot of potential, but a long way to go before it would be worth putting any real time into. Don't get me wrong, I'm always excited about new games coming out. The trending new and free-to-play tabs are basically like a permanent hangout spot for me. But to see a game with some real staying power come out swinging, could this be too good to be true? While the internet may look at this game and see a strong base on which an empire will one day be built, to me this game is basically perfect as is. Yeah, there's a lot of bugs, and yes, you will die to random bullcrap, but the fact that we now have an ARPG with industry-leading graphics and presentation, that has hundreds of hours of content and is led by a passionate team of developers that have a long history of treating their players with respect, and the fact that it's going to be a free release? How can I even muster up the energy to complain when this happens? Now I know I'm coming out here a little strong praising a game whose own community looks at it as if its release was akin to an act of terrorism, but man, I'm just happy to be here. I mean, like I was saying, it's rare to get on the ground floor of these long-term live service games. I mean, sure, I played about 50-ish hours of Warframe when it first released, but then I quickly lost interest and came back 5 years later to a completely different game. Same story for the original Path of Exile. Only that game had become so impenetrable to me that, for the life of me, I couldn't get a single character through the entire campaign. So I, like a lot of people, impatiently awaiting the release of the sequel as soon as it was announced. And man, it so lived up to the hype. Though it probably doesn't look that way from the outside. Now look, one thing I've learned in 20 years of online gaming, it's that the more excited a community is about a game's release, the more they have a hard time figuring out what to do with all this pent-up energy. Look no farther than Helldivers 2, a game that was universally praised as an undisputed W for the little guy. A game for gamers, a game that treated its community with respect, who wasn't riddled with overpriced microtransactions. And while yes, the PSN situation was quite dire and absolutely deserved the pushback it received, the community has since learned that anytime they have even the slightest problem with the game's direction or the latest update, it's time to go back to review bombing. And it's kind of the same here. For anyone who's played the game for about 10 to 25 hours, it's a near perfect experience. It feels like everything that GGG had promised. But for people who have been around for a lot longer, or have over a couple hundred hours in the game already, a lot of the cracks start to show. I mean, heck, I'm guilty of the same thing with Tarkov. I like to tell people that the first 700 hours or so with Tarkov is a magical experience that you can't get anywhere else. But once you get closer to that 1,000 hours, the cracks really start to show, and you realize that these problems just probably aren't going to change, and you either have to learn to deal with it or move on to a different game. I chose the latter. But then again, it's hard to put grinding gear games in the same league as Battlestate. To say that BSG has a toxic relationship with its player base would be an understatement.
Это то, что вот, да, это такая серьезная вещь, которая работает всегда в две стороны, так и быть, я скажу это. Для меня это было, честно говоря, откровением, как бы, и как это воспринимать, это, конечно, уже ваше дело. Если читеров много, это начинает поднимать донат. Потому что читеры вводят в состояние дискомфорта других игроков. А главное правило, чтобы донатили товарищи, нужно держать игрока в состоянии дискомфорта. А главное правило, чтобы донатили товарищи, нужно держать игрока в состоянии дискомфорта.
And here we are with developers that actually treat their players with respect and are very open and communicative and willing to change their minds on a subject. This kind of stuff is hard to find, which is what makes it so tragic for me when I see people in the forums or on the subreddit wondering if the game's actually worth playing considering all the hate that it's receiving.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
Now I know it's hard to detach yourself from the here and the now, to look 10 years in the future and see how far the game will come. I, for one, am really excited. Who cares if the economy's screwed right now? I'm a Tarkov player. If there's an exploit, it just means I have to be a little bit earlier on it next season. Some of the gameplay loops feel broken and incoherent. It actually has a chance of getting fixed here. What I'm trying to say is that, man, The Path of Exile community has no idea how good they have it.
No. And by the way, you don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't.
And I'm not saying to turn a blind eye to all the game's weak points or that we shouldn't give criticism and feedback to help improve the game, especially during an early access period, but vitriolic rhetoric is just how we get things done around here. But I just wanted to post this video as kind of a reminder, a sort of recentering and perspective shift, if you will. That, 5-10 years from now, these will be the good times. We'll be telling all our kids about how all the attack animations were broken, how damage was completely off scale, and how there was a conspiracy theory about how to find the Citadel based on the direction that the bodies were facing. Like I said at the start of the video, I'm just excited to be here. To actually have a game that's worth playing, that I can invest time and money into, that isn't going to get replaced in a year. Things might seem dire now, but we have a whole 10 years to expect out of this game. And I'm just excited that we're all in it together.
And brick a character and make a new one and come back and bitch and moan and whine and cry until you find something that's awesome and then start blowing up shit and then wait for the nerfs to come and then rinse and repeat. I mean, to me, early access is a roller coaster of fun and emotion, and everybody should join it. Then you'll start feeling at home a little bit. You're like, wait a minute, I am home. Diablo ain't what Diablo's supposed to be now, but this has got throwbacks and hints and feels just like it used to. Kinda. You feel like you at home a little bit.